When your heart breaks, it breaks wide open. And what it oftentimes causes is it causes you to experience all of past pains that you never dealt with, that you only distracted yourself through. And perhaps even it caused you to revisit a lot of the past emotions that you never dealt with. That's what I experienced. And today I want to help you understand the reason why you are not healing and the steps that you can take that I took that genuinely and quickly helped me to heal and deal with all of my chaotic world that stopped me from enjoying my life. When my heartbreak happened, it triggered me. I don't think the heartbreak was really that severe. It was the fact that when my heart broke, it broke completely, and it allowed a lot of my past trauma and childhood trauma to reemerge, and I had no idea how to handle that. And that left me standing on the side of a bridge, contemplating life, potentially taking my life, until I saw what happened to be a tree beginning to take root and to grow through the rough terrain of the train tracks that this bridge was built upon. That's right. I was thinking about taking my life because the pain of the heartbreak triggered so much turmoil and past hurt that I didn't know how to deal with it. So I thought the only way to rid myself of this pain was to kill myself. Now, there was a version of myself that I did kill, and it ignited me into becoming this coach, this best-selling author, this community leader, this identity, this husband that I am today. And I am so grateful for my breakdown, because that breakdown turned into a breakthrough. And my breakup, there's a reason why it's called a breakup, my friends. It's because first you have to break and then you go up. What is up, my dear friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Honey I'm Home podcast, a podcast where I'm going to help you understand how you can begin to move through life's greatest obstacles, struggles, chaos, so that you can win from within and feel better about what life has to throw at you, because life is life and it's full of obstacles. And so I want to help you to heal. I want to help you understand, what 3 steps that I really took that significantly helped me to navigate the muddy waters of heartbreak, and then ultimately help you understand why you're not healing. And before we dive into that, I just want to say how grateful and thankful I am for those of you that continue to tune into this podcast. To be honest with you, if it wasn't for you and knowing that I'm here to take care and to help guide you, it brings me a strong, purposeful meaning that allows me to not focus so much on my own personal struggle and suffering, but to help me work through my own suffering and my own struggle, because I still deal with things. I still get, triggered. I still have to fight my internal demons. I still have to, work for my happiness and be intentional and be enthusiastic. It's daily work. And part of the podcast is really a podcast for me, but I'm talking to me, but you're just joining me in the conversation. And perhaps it's relating to you. And if it is relating to you and you find this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, I would love for you to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, because ultimately that's what's going to help us to heal more hearts. And I believe more hearts that are healed, more people will help other people heal in their own turmoil, chaos, and self-doubt and self-destruction, right? And I believe that hurt people, and I believe healed people can heal people. And it's the most beautiful thing that you can give to someone is hope, is strength, is encouragement, and is your happiness and knowledge and wisdom. And that's why I love being in this space as a influential leader who has a good business, helping other people improve their quality of life. And that's the Happy Heart Academy. I have a lot of courses, I have a lot of trainings, I have a lot of worksheets, I have a lot of books that I've come out with designed to help you live a better quality of life. And let's talk about why you're not healing and what you can begin to do to heal. So taking you back to the year of 2016, I was with a girl who I would consider my first love, and I ended up getting cheated on multiple times, but I was too broke as an individual to walk away from that toxic relationship. Now, that toxic relationship ultimately almost costed me my life. It definitely costed me my health. I was in and out of the hospitals on a, I would say, monthly basis. And I was throwing up blood, and I had a lot of stress ulcers in my stomach, and my stomach lining was all messed up, and I just couldn't feel good. And it ended up causing me to do the things that didn't help me to heal, but it ultimately helped me distract myself so that I felt like I was healing. And that's where I want to start, is like, there's a lot of distractions out in this world. And when you're going through a difficult time in your life, a breakdown, a heartbreak, a separation, divorce, a loss of identity, you lose, you're no longer pursuing the identity that you once held. Like, for example, maybe you were an athlete like myself, and the sport ended when your collegiate career came around, or your high school career ended, and then you lost yourself because your identity was wrapped up in this persona of character of an athlete, and now no longer you are an athlete, and you feel like you don't know who you are, the meaning of life, the purpose, and all of those things, right? And there's a lot of things, and distraction is the number one reason why you're not healing. Distraction. Let's talk about the distractions that are actually not helpful that you might be doing, that are stopping you from being able to heal. And some of the distractions that I ultimately, ran to early on was, number one, sleeping around. I remember when I went through my heartbreak, I started playing around with other women, and that wasn't healthy because I ended up hurting women in the process. And I learned from my experience and my mistakes, because I basically took my hurt heart and tried to ignore the pain because I didn't know how to deal with it by using other people. Hurt people often use other people to take something from them, more than likely their happiness. And what ends up happening is, in that relationship, and that doesn't mean it needs to be an intimate sexual relationship, but ultimately in those moments, the temptation is strong. And when you are intermingled with other individuals, you ultimately, there's great confusion that can come with that, because your heart's not ready to be loved. Your heart's not ready to get over that person. Your heart's ready to get rid of the pain. So you're going to try to numb yourself. And one of the ways that I did that was by, I'm not proud of this, but I used one woman in particular to kind of rid myself of the pain. And I felt terrible about myself if I really allowed myself to sit with that and to think about that. But hurt people use other people. And that is a distraction technique that many people run to. Another one, is I remember drinking a lot. I started to go to a lot of parties because I needed to be around, social people to feel like I could numb my pain, because I didn't know how to deal with it. I started smoking a lot of weed, and that kind of helped in some way, shape, or form to care less. So drinking and drugs and sex are things that I think is very relatable after the heartbreak that people experience in some way, shape, or form. Other things that I did was, I started to get into business, and that's still a distraction, because business stops you from thinking about yourself and your own healing. That stops me from, I remember feeling like happier. I started to go to pornography. I started to implement a lot of bad habits, right? And that's just human nature. If what we don't know how to deal with, we oftentimes try to distract ourselves. And like I said, maybe it's social media, maybe it's pornography for you, maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's working 20 times harder than you typically are working. And all of those things can stop and hinder us from dealing with the core problem. Because if you don't deal with the core problem, that problem will end up coming back up. And that's what I learned in my heartbreak, was like, when I went through that, like I said earlier, when a heart breaks, it breaks wide open, and it oftentimes triggers a lot of past emotion that you didn't deal with, the trauma you didn't deal with. And then you feel overwhelmed by all of this emotional uproar, and you're like, what in the world am I experiencing? And this heartbreak is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And it's actually not the breakup in and of itself, but what really hurts is that you feel like you lost your identity. You lost your purpose. You lost your focus. Like your focus was to quote unquote take care of that person. My only responsibility in this life is to focus on that relationship. And when you no longer have that focus or that identity as that, partner, you feel lost. You feel confused. You feel hopeless. You feel sad. You feel broken. And you feel like you lack vitality, this energy toward life, that life is good and meant to be lived and to be experienced, all of the good and the bad. And so, distraction, my friends, you got to ask yourself and coach yourself through the distractions that you are leaning on to not have to deal with the hurt. And part of my mission here is to help you to recognize that your job as an individual to get to the next level of happiness or the next version of yourself that you are proud of is to deal with the mess within your own heart so that you don't end up bleeding on someone who never cut you. I don't believe that I would have ever found my wife if I didn't do the years. So I met my wife in 2017, but my personal development came into place in the year of 2014, 15. I got serious about growing myself and to recognize the different things that I needed to work on, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But before I dive into that, I want to talk about the number one cause to the reason why you are still hurting and you're not healing is because you're distracting yourself. And you could see them as positive distractions, but I'm telling you, if you're not doing the actual work to heal, you will not heal. It'll only distract you and you'll pretend like you are healing because you're reading, you're journaling, you're listening to podcasts like this one. And to be honest with you, I did it. I read, I listened to podcasts, I went to seminars, I started to get different visions and dreams and goals and aspirations, and it helped navigate it a little bit, but ultimately it didn't heal me. It just still distracted me because I wasn't implementing the things that I needed to implement to actually heal the hurt, broken child within who was lacking significance, love, purpose, and a mission after I went through that heartbreak. And so distraction is the first thing that you need to figure out. Are you currently distracting yourself from being able to take care of the very thing that you need to take care of, which is yourself? Are you allowing yourself to feel your hurt in order to heal your heart? Are you allowing yourself to go into the darkness and to fight the internal demons that you're facing? It's not an easy task, but you got to recognize if you're distracting yourself. The second big idea that's keeping you from being able to heal is your focus is too much on yourself, which is kind of paradoxical because in order to heal yourself, you do have to focus on inwardly. But there comes a point where you got to stop focusing on all of your self pity and you're wallowing in self-hurt and self-destructive thoughts, and you're focused too much on yourself. And when you focus too much on yourself, that's when you suffer. When you allow yourself to do something, which I'll talk about in a minute, you'll begin to actually heal because you're focusing outwardly. So when you suffer, it's usually because it's a me and I mentality. The world revolves around you, and when the world revolves around you, you will suffer. And this is what I realized during my greatest darkness. Was I was in deep darkness of potentially killing myself because I realized how broken I was. And I also felt like I was alone. Like no one else in this world ever experienced the pain that I was experiencing. No one else ever got cheated on. No one else ever got sexually abused. No one else ever went through a difficult home life where the parents weren't very responsible. They were on their own healing journey now that I look at it, but they didn't know how to deal with it. So that marriage ended in a very toxic divorce that eventually, now it's like 20 some years later where my parents are now good friends, and I can invite them over to my wife and I's home, and they're all they're all respectful and they can talk to each other. But there was a time when they couldn't, and looking back, I see why my parents reacted in the way that they did, because they were very, very hurt. And when I noticed that my parents were hurting because of their own divorce, it hurt me as a child. And what I recognized that my parents ultimately did was they escaped to also drugs and alcohol and different self-harming distractions that never allowed them to heal. And another big thing, outside of the distractions and outside of just like you're always focused on the me mentality where the world revolves around you, another thing that hinders you from being able to heal is you believe that time can help you heal, right? They say that time can help heal all wounds. I promise you that it's not time that can help you heal, but it's what you do in that time that can. And so that's why it's really important for you to understand what are the things that you should be doing and what are some of the things that you shouldn't be doing in order to heal. Because time in and of itself does not help you to heal. That's why people can grieve for multiple years, if not decades. That's why people can never get over their past heartbreak because they're waiting for time to do their healing. Does it help in due time? Yeah, you get used to it, but that doesn't mean that you're actually healing. It doesn't mean that you're not feeling sad and lonely and anxious and alone. Time does not heal. Time can help heal physical wounds, and I look down at my arms because I have burn marks and things of that on my arm. That physically time can help you to heal, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, it does not help you to heal because you're not utilizing your time effectively in a manner that can help you to actually heal your brokenness. And those are that. And then the last thing is you just don't know how to heal, or you're guessing at your healing, right? Oftentimes people are like, oh, well, maybe I should meditate and that should help. Maybe I should read a book. Maybe I should listen to a podcast. Maybe I should go for a walk. Maybe I should work on my physical health. Those things will help me to heal. Well, not really, because your focus is on the reading, is on the listening to the podcast, is on the workout of improving the muscle. It's not still on self development of the internal war that rages within. It's still distracting you because you're just kind of guessing at it. You're like, I think this might work, and typically it doesn't, but it does help you to get to a little bit of a better space. And hey, that can be good, right? It's not that it's not good, but like ultimately guessing your way into healing, like why would you continue to guess when there's resources, books, there's courses, there's therapy, there's so many different techniques and ways that you can learn to implement into your life. And you're going to play around with a bunch of them and figure out what heals. Because let me tell you, I've coached a lot of people that are like, Tyler, I've been journaling and it's not helping me. It's actually re-triggering me. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because it's like kind of like PTSD. You're reliving that emotional experience and you just jotting down that emotional experience that you went through. If you don't know how to redirect that focus, once you've kind of re-triggered that experience, you're going to continue to hurt yourself. You're going to continue to feel the pain. You're going to still stay stuck. So those are some 4 big reasons on why you're not healing. Number 1, you're distracted. Number 2, you're focusing on yourself way too much. Number 3, you're waiting for time to heal you. And number 4, you are ultimately unsure of the steps that you should take in order to heal. And ultimately, if you want to learn how to heal, like there are 3 steps that I highly recommend that you take, and you should really focus on for the next 90 days of your life. And you can find those directive steps, the guide, the blueprint, in my free masterclass training called The Walk Back to Happiness. And man, I'm telling you, those are going to be very helpful, very insightful. You're going to understand the exact things that you should be beginning to focus on so that you can actually heal. And you can find that at happyheartacademy.com/moving on. There, you just put in your name and email address and you'll get the access to the free training. And I'm telling you, that's where you're going to want to begin if you're struggling to heal. If you're struggling to heal, you got to understand the 3 steps that everyone takes, consciously or subconsciously, in order to get to the end result of feeling at peace. And when I say the word healing, sometimes we get stuck on it because we're not sure exactly what that means. We don't see that picture. We don't paint that picture. But actually what you mean when you're, what you want to have happen when you're healing is it's an emotional experience. It's feeling at peace and you've accepted and acknowledged what has come to fruition and you're okay with it. You're like, you know what? It's part of my life's journey. It's part of my story. And that downfall can be the biggest breakthrough for you if you utilize it in a manner that can be helpful toward others. So listen, I don't know where you're at in your journey. I don't know what you're currently struggling with. I might start doing more lives so that I can interact and understand what you guys are going through. I know what my coaching clients are going through, which then I can assume that that's exactly kind of what you're going through, because the stories are often very relatable, and that's why I have the Happy Heart Academy community. And so ultimately, my friends, those are the 4 big reasons on why you're not healing. Let's talk about what you can begin to do to actually heal. And I have 3 big ideas that truly helped me to heal. So when I started to be like, enough is enough, I didn't end up jumping off the bridge and taking my life. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if the bridge was high enough to take my life, but I do believe it was high enough to cause a lot of damage. And who knows what that outcome could have looked like. That's a lot for me to remember. So I had to sigh there, because it was a tough time of my life. And I remembered that I had to stop distracting myself. That's where I began. I stopped distracting myself, and I started to go on walks out in the wilderness, because I have a belief in God, and I believe that God will supply the birds, the bees, the trees in life. And I see God everywhere every time I walk out into the woods, because everything in the woods is not stressing. They're not worried. They're not, it's not like, anxious. It's being taken care of. It's the cycle of life that they know that they're going to be taken care of. The bird is not worried about where its next meal is going to come from. It's going to the earth, or God is going to deliver. The trees are thriving. The world of the woods ends up being very abundant in a lot of greenery. It's growing, it's exhaling, it's healing. And so I found myself starting to wander in the wilderness. And in the wilderness is where I started to realize what I needed to do to heal, because it allowed me to disconnect from all of the digital distraction, and it allowed me to disconnect from all of the world around me, and it allowed me to just tune into Mother Nature, as well as just myself, because it was quiet. It was peaceful. It was natural. It was normal. It was in its natural state of being, which allowed me to connect to my natural state of being. So when I decided that enough was enough, and I'm tired of suffering, I'm tired of this heartache, I'm tired of the poor me victim mentality, I'm tired of feeling like life isn't worth living, that I just was tired of suffering and feeling like unhappy, maybe depressed, maybe hopeless and helpless. The very first thing that I did that actually helped me was I needed to rewire my brain and my thoughts, because my thoughts created a reality that I disliked. My thoughts caused me to suffer deeply. So I knew that I struggled with thinking positively. So what I started to do was I started to listen to a lot of podcasts within the personal development niche. And more importantly, what I did was not only did I listen to podcasts, but I read a lot of books. And they weren't just random books on personal development. They were books that I knew significantly were going to improve my life, because it was talking to a specific problem that I was facing. So I identified in the woods, I took a journal and I would sit down and write about all of the problems and things I didn't like about myself, things that I struggled with in relationships. Opening up my heart was one of them. So I had a challenging time to feel love and to allow myself to be loved and to receive love after love betrayed me, not only as a kid, but then into my teenage years and then into my adult years, because people ended up hurting me, or I allowed them to hurt me, and I was allowing myself to stay in those terrible relationships. So I would start to recognize some things that I had wrong with me, and one of the things was love. The second one, was my own self-image and self-esteem. Another one was my self-talk. And so I started to read books, listen to podcasts, take some courses, and I didn't stop there, because that was step one, was to learn about other people's experiences, to recognize that my experience actually isn't unique, and this is part of the human journey that we face. Life is supposed to be difficult, and it will be difficult, and you will struggle, and it will be heartache, and it will be, fatiguing, and it will be exhausting, and you will lack hope, and you will lack certainty, and you will lack joy at times, and so it's like, that's part of life. And for me to think that life wasn't going to be hard was one of the roles that I stopped believing in, because life is supposed to be hard. Anything worth it is supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to be difficult, as in, like, you're supposed to give effort in order to win in life. And I wasn't giving effort. I wasn't giving much effort. So the first thing that you need to do that I did that actually helped me was I committed to my personal self improvement and personal development. And I started to listen to podcasts, read books, and started to study and learn about other people's struggles. So listening to their biographies and reading about their biographies, understanding their upbringing and their background, and understanding that, man, my life isn't really that bad. I've created it to be worse than it truly is because of the pain that I was experiencing. But I'm so grateful that I'm not living the life that other people have lived, because I'm telling you, it's 10x the amount of pain that I've experienced is what they experienced. And so allow yourself to dive into other people's stories, my friends. Allow yourself to discover that your story is not unique. It's not special. It's part of the life's journey, your life's journey. And you can capitalize on that. So that's the first big step that you need to take, is you need to start to get committed into your personal internal development, mastering emotional intelligence, gaining emotional resilience, studying the power of self-talk, understanding what your self-image is, knowing your values and sticking to them, living congruently toward who you want to be, and walking that out on a daily basis in order to make you feel a little bit better about yourself. Because when you do something you say you're going to do and you do it, you feel good about yourself. So I realized I had to do more of those things. So I needed to understand, well, what makes me feel happy, right? What makes me feel thankful? What makes me feel, a little bit more at peace? And I identified those things through the help of other people. And what I realized was I needed to start doubling down and doing more of those things. So realistically, start studying people and their story if you're suffering, to recognize that your story is not unique. And if you don't know where to go, I mean, you can even join Reddit groups, you can join Facebook groups, you can join communities. Excuse me. You can speak to me, speak to counselors and therapists, and there's so many people out there. And the human experience is one of overcoming, because we are adaptable and we can move through difficult times. So personal development saved my life because I allowed people to think for me. I allowed people to speak into me, and I was a sponge. But I realized that that wasn't technically enough. Just partaking and taking information in wasn't enough. The second step that I started to do when I started to plateau and not grow was I realized, although I had all of this collective good information and all of these stories, I didn't technically implement the strategies that they were speaking about. So the big step that I took was I started to implement the exercises that a lot of these influential people with powerful stories started to utilize in their own life, that they were recommending me to implement into my own life. And when I started to implement them on a consistent and regular basis, I started to feel a little bit happier about myself. And that's the blessing in life, is when you start to do the work, when you start to take the course, when you start to invest into your emotional and mental well-being. It's okay to feel not okay. It's a season. It'll pass. How quickly it passes depends upon the work that you're willing to do. And so maybe you need to be coached. Maybe you need to just talk. Maybe you need to journal. Maybe you need to rewire your brain. Maybe you need to implement more happiness habits. But inevitably, you need to figure that out for yourself. And if you're not sure what to do, you can always enroll in one of my courses or classes, or even my coaching program, where I will sit with you one-on-one to help you navigate those murky and muddy waters, because you feel like your experience is a little bit different. So that's the second big idea. Is not only the first big idea to help you to heal is to invest in your personal development, and then secondly, you have to act upon the personal development on a consistent basis and regular basis, and implement habits and rituals and routines that can actually fulfill you to make you feel better about where you are and yourself. And then the last big idea that I have for you today is you got to stop focusing on yourself. Okay. So after you set up a routine of like maybe 30 minutes to an hour every single day, that allows you to take care of your mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, your entire complete being, and you take care of yourself. So that means your mindset, your journaling, your health set, you're working out, your soul set, you're connecting to God, and your emotional well-being, you're meditating, and you're doing the different exercises, just for some examples, you can then go on with your day and feel like good about yourself because you've set the intention on who you're going to be. You worked on yourself, you healed yourself, you like, okay, I got that done. Now I can move into the daily life, my daily living. And what then you should begin to do is stop focusing in on yourself and helping other people to heal their own heart. This is one of the greatest things that I ever started to do, because in doing this podcast, I realized that there's people out there, and in helping you, I'm helping myself, and indirectly, because I helped you, I get to heal myself. When I help you heal, I help me heal. And when I took the focus off of me and all of I feel this way. Well, once you start trying to help somebody else out, you stop worrying about yourself and everything that you're feeling and experiencing, and you just begin to feel a little bit better. And that's why I love people who are purpose-driven, who started companies because they went through a specific problem and they turned that problem and found the solution. Now they share that solution, with their community and with their individuals to help them overcome that same obstacle that they once faced. And I got into that space. It's the messenger space is what I like to call it. It's the influential leader space. It's the influential leadership space that allows you to share your message in order to monetize it and help other people along the way. So now you're making money helping other people because you've learned how to solve a problem, and then you teach people how to solve that problem too, a little bit quicker, right? Like, that's kind of what I do. Is in my business, I share knowledge and information. I sell that via courses and books and webinars and seminars and speaking and coaching. And I packaged it in a manner that I can sell it, and which helps me to help other people like yourself begin to move through their own life's chaos and turmoil, struggle, and mess. And it's a beautiful business opportunity. It's a beautiful business to get into, and that's what I recommend you get into. Is you get into a purpose-driven life where you're making money by helping other people heal, which directly helps you to heal because your focus is off of yourself. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I did. That's exactly what I did. And it wasn't easy. It takes a level of commitment, and it takes a lot of self-love to continue down that route of focusing on your personal development, giving up your distractions, healing your own heart, and then taking care of other people. Part of the reason why you might have been gifted with this messy message is in life is so that you can get through it, empower yourself, and be like, holy smokes, I got through a parental divorce, and I grew up in a toxic home where there were a lot of drugs and alcohol, where I was confused about a lot of things, and I was in the victim mentality, and I allowed that to fuel me, to get me out of a state of being that I was unhappy with, to fuel me to become the person that I'm now happily am, which is a best-selling author, a husband, and a coach, a leader, and somebody who I am just absolutely proud of. And I built a beautiful home with a beautiful woman who loves and cherishes and supports me. But I wouldn't have been able to accept that love and cherish and support if I didn't give it to myself first, because then I become reliant upon her to give it to me, and I'm waiting for her to give it to me in order to feel happy. And so part of my course called Happiness After Heartbreak is helping you to become more self-reliant upon yourself to bring your own happiness into your world so that you can give it away to others. So you're not waiting around for other people to make you feel important, special, significant, influential, or the things that you want to feel, but you're not allowing yourself to feel. Like, what if you could allow yourself to experience a better quality of life by giving it to yourself, not waiting for someone else? That's what I teach inside my 12-week coaching course, where I offer coaching and my course at a beautiful, easy to do way and framework that's going to allow you to empower yourself. Listen, so ultimately, my message for you today is you got to stop distracting yourself. You got to stop focusing so much on yourself and start to allow yourself to be involved with other people, and hear their stories and talk to them and to help them. And maybe, today I challenge you just to go inside of somebody's community, and offer a piece of advice on Reddit or wherever you find communities at on Facebook, or maybe you're part of a church group, or maybe you're part of maybe you just have a personal group that you're kind of involved with friends, and just offer a piece of advice that could significantly help them. And one of the things that you can do is share this podcast episode out there with them to let them know that you're thinking about them, and their own healing journey, because you know that they're going through a lot. Because I'm sure in the over 180 plus episodes, there's something there for them that can help them to heal. Maybe it's not this podcast episode, maybe they scroll and find another one. But ultimately, my friends, the mission is to help you to heal. The mission is to help other people to heal so that you can slowly stop your suffering and your own hurt. Because when the focus is off yourself, I promise you that you will heal. And those are the 3 steps that I began to take in order to heal my own heart. So if you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, my dear friends, be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, because that's what's going to help this podcast reach more hearts, more homes, and get into the right minds of people who are ready to win from within. And if you need anything from me, please DM me over on my Instagram page at Tyler Joe Stratton. I try to check them on a daily basis, but I have hundreds of people that flood my DMs on a regular basis. And it's hard for me to get back to each and every one of you. And if you're struggling to get a hold of me, that's why I have a community called the Happy Heart Academy. You can go to happyheartacademy.com to learn more about the community and what I have to offer in there. I do more lives, I do more one-on-ones, I have a lot more resources in there for you to really take the proper steps, so that you're not wasting time, you're not distracting yourself, you're not just guessing at your healing. It's a place where you can actually get the tools and to implement them yourself. I've given you the tools that you need. Are you willing to take the answers for the test so that you can pass the test? Really, it's up to you. Maybe this podcast is enough. Maybe you don't have the money and resources to invest in yourself, but I promise you it's not that much of money, and money is relevant to finding happiness and feeling more fulfilled. So my friends, my name is Tyler Joe Stratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.